Hello and welcome to the DTF1 podcast, where we are always down to Formula One. I'm Andre, I'm here at the Singapore Grand Prix. This is my co-host Trent. Hello, Trent. Hello, Trent.
Hey, mate. This has happened so off the fly, I don't even have a drink.
So I thought we should have a chat because there's some big things happening in regards to the 2021 budget cap. And I was in the paddock yesterday, and I bumped into a couple of friendly faces. And yeah, I thought it was worth a chat.
Okay.
Long story short, there appears to be two teams that have breached the budget cap last year. The rumour is it's Aston and Red Bull. Red Bull, there's conjecture between, depending who you listen to, whether Red Bull is a minor overspend or a material overspend. So that's obviously like potentially championship changing implications for last year. So I thought we'd have a chat. Given we did the budget cap episode last year, during the mid-season break, hopefully our listeners know, but if not, I don't know. Do you want to give a quick recap, the difference between, very quick high-level recap, the difference between minor overspend and material overspend, or have I put you on the spot there?
You've massively put me on the spot. I thought you were the technical expert.
Okay, I can do it. So minor overspend is if you've spent 5% or less over budget, and material overspend is if you've spent 5% upwards over the budget. It's very wet here, by the way, while we're talking. Practice 3 is scheduled to... I'm standing out in the rain to do this. Practice 3 is supposed to be in 20 minutes. We'll see if they start it on time. And apologies for any audio, because it is a racetrack and there's stuff going on, any bad audio. The very real potential, even in a minor overspend, there is points penalties available as a points as the penalty, both to the constructor and the driver. And if you go material overspend, there's everything up to disqualification from the championship available. So it's pretty widely reported. I'm sensing that it's not just rumor mill nonsense. I'm sensing that it is true. So I think the discussion is, what sort of penalty is there going to be? They've been audited for months, apparently.
March.
That's not... So March they had to submit, but the FIA apparently have been on to Red Bull and known there's something fishy and have been auditing them for months.
Well, it says our submission was below the cap, according to Christian Horner.
So yes, that's what he said. So if you think about that, all that means is what they submitted was under the cap.
What didn't they submit?
He's not saying we are under the cap. He's not saying we spent under the cap.
Yep.
He's saying our submission is under the cap. So once they get into the auditing, I suspect they've found things and go, no, hang on, that's not right. And now apparently they are into material overspend territory.
Yeah, right.
So Aston, I don't really want to talk about Aston because who cares? Apparently they're a minor overspend, and also they've finished nowhere, so it's not really important. Red Bull, if this is correct, that has implications on the championship. So what's your take, Trent? What do you think?
It's. I just find it, considering the level of the sport, I find it disappointing that it's taken this long, if I'm perfectly honest. Submitted in March, we're now in October.
That's really true, especially if it's going to be championship altering. You want to know that ASAP, not 10, 11 months later.
Yeah. I think in respect to that, if they decide that they're not going to... I think they've got an option where they either suspend or they give points penalties either last year or this year, probably be last year. I think that it's too far past where the championship was concluded to go and do that. I think that's just silly. You couldn't tell me that Lewis Hamilton would be happy to win a championship 10 months down the track. I don't think that's very fair.
I think it's so tough, right? Because I totally agree with what you're saying. But then to play devil's advocate on that and think about it the other way, if they don't go fucking, no, you've cheated, we're taking it off you, then what's the fucking point of the budget cap?
True. Or
I would not want to be the person making the decision. I really wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's tough.
I think
it's tough.
Why don't they, for the rest of this year and into next year, why don't they reduce their wind tunnel hours and their CFD hours as a result?
That is available to them. They can do that.
Yep.
They can also reduce their they can actually also reduce their budget cap for this year and next year. They can do all sorts of things, but to me it still doesn't sit right. You cheated last year, like cop the penalty last year.
Yep.
And then if you want to give them an extra kick in the balls, like to send a message to be like, don't fuck with the budget cap, then also put stuff for this year on top of it. Yeah. So I think there's got to be a penalty in the year that you did it, right? Surely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, can we go to a football example? You're more of a football follower, and when I say football, I mean the one with the weird shaped ball.
In Australia.
Not the proper one with the round ball.
Yeah.
So I believe teams have had premierships stripped off them for salary cap infractions, have they not?
Yeah. Well, rugby. Remember? Melbourne Storm in rugby. Yep.
Okay. I thought it was AFL as well. Has it not happened in AFL?
I've not seen it in AFL, no.
That was doping, right?
That was doping, yeah. Yeah, and that was a Brownlow medal was taken off a player, which for anyone who doesn't know, Brownlow's like the biggest accolade for a single individual in the sport.
So the Storm, you're quite right. In the NRL, for those who aren't Australian listeners, it's a code of football mainly played in New South Wales and mainly played in New South Wales and Queensland, although Melbourne do have a team. They lost, I believe, 3 premierships.
Yeah, something like that. It's crazy.
And that happened years later.
Yep.
That was like a few years later they found all this out and they took it off them. Go ahead.
Did they give the the flag to the other? They just said, no, this is deleted year.
I believe there's no premier that year.
Copy.
I just believe that if you look back at the history books, maybe search it. You're on a computer.
Yeah.
I'm on my phone.
I think you're right. I actually think you're right.
I believe they didn't give it to, for example, whoever lost the grand final, which is what you'd consider runner-up or second place. They just said there is no champion for that year. But that was many, many years later. Like this happened, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years later. Whereas I think the Max Lewis situation would be different. Like it's still fresh enough to go. Max DQ or 25-point penalty or 100-point penalty or whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And that means fucking championship order reshakes and it's Lewis. I think there's just safety car doing laps at the moment, by the way. Checking out the track. Hang on a sec.
You're in a very cool spot. There's a camera right near you.
Yeah, there's a camera up here.
Yeah. It cuts to the camera a lot.
It shoots down the main straight. I'll just wander over the main straight and show you a view down it. It's pretty cool.
Do you think, probably my biggest question, do you think it's fair to apply a penalty to a driver who has no involvement in this? I get if it's hard because it's like for Max, for example, right? He's already gone through the Abu Dhabi scandal and all the rest of it. People think he didn't deserve it, Then he cops this as well, which has nothing to do with him at all. Do you think that would be fair to strip him of a title? I don't think it is. And I don't think it's...
He had nothing to do with it, but he benefited from it, right? If they overspend and overdevelop the car and have new shiny bits on it and make the car goes faster, he's not the CFO, of course. Yeah. He's not in the accounts receivable or the accounts payable department fucking sending off...
Dishing out bills.
Payroll every Tuesday. Like, I get that, but he's also benefiting from it.
Yeah, true.
From whatever advantage is engaged, so is gained. So it's hard to say. I think personally, I think this supersedes Abu Dhabi for the potential size of the scandal this could be, depending how they handle it. depending how they handle it. And there almost is no right option for them. I do feel for them because you strip it off Max, people go, what a fucking dumb sport. You can lose the championship 10 months later. And if you don't strip it off Max, obviously all of these conversations are based on the hypothetical that this is actually true and it's going to be confirmed in the coming week. And if you don't strip it off Max, then your sport's a joke for a different reason. You have a fucking rule that can be blatantly cheated, and there's no the immediate sporting consequence. I wouldn't like to be the person making the decision to say that much.
And then the second part of the question is, do you then, which goes back to the Melbourne Storm scenario, do you then hand the championship to Lewis? I definitely don't think that's the right thing to do. And he probably wouldn't see that way either.
You reckon just not have a 2021 champion?
I think so, yep. Well, they won
the spot out of the raid. I'm just very stoked with something. This big red balloon that it's just only occurred to me to stand underneath it.
Why don't you be like Max fans and throw it on the track?
I don't know what the answer is. I honestly can't tell you. It's really hard. I think I think the only thing that would really, whether Lewis gets it or not, whatever, but I think if there has been a material overspend and Max keeps it, I'll be wildly disappointed.
Yeah, I agree with you in the fact.
To the point, especially that it's hot on the heels. Well, hot on the heels is subjective. Hot on the heels of Abu Dhabi. It'll fucking soil F1 for me, personally.
Yeah. They've got to do something. They've got to... They have to stamp their authority is the right word, isn't it? They have to show who's boss here and say this. And it's likewise, but they're not talking about Aston Martin very much. Theirs is minor, but still apply a big penalty, whatever it is, and show this is what happens. Simple as that. So
they've got to now. The budget cap's new, and these are the first two infractions. Ignore Williams. Theirs was they submitted paperwork late, whatever.
It wasn't money.
Ignore that. But this is the first time that a sporting advantage has arguably been gained out of it. I think it needs to be fucking set the tone with an iron fist.
Yep.
Absolutely, you do this, here's the penalty. Otherwise, what's the point of the regs?
Yep.
Toto Wolff said in an interview, that if this is true and they're not firm on it, well, then we'll all go overspend,
correct,
knowing we're going to get minor penalties.
When I'm trying to think of an example. There was a big sporting example where, can't remember if it was in Australia or somewhere else, where someone was made the victim. They finally decided to introduce a rule, and then this first person did it, and they were made a big victim of it. Even though
a big example, you mean?
Example, sorry, not a victim. Example, yep. Did you just say Bathurst?
No.
Oh, why do I feel like it was something to do with... It was. Remember Team Penske here in Australia? Fabian Coulthard slowed the field down, and they on the way into pit lane, correct,
so that he wouldn't have to stack behind McLaughlin.
And Supercars did the right thing by stamping their authority there.
They did, yeah. Their penalty was harsh, right? What did they do?
Didn't they take the win off him or something like that? Or no, they didn't take the win off him, but they gave him a points penalty or something. So they left Scott. They left him. It was huge, though. Let me try and find it. That's the example I was thinking of. Team penalty. Fine. I feel like it was a fine. It was something big. Yeah, here we go. So yeah, it was a $250,000 fine, 300 points, which $250,000 in Australian budget is huge.
Yeah, that is a lot.
But McLaughlin kept his win. That was the.
Yeah. See, that's the one that.
That's an example. I don't think there's a right way, is there?
I don't think there's a right answer. Pick the lesser of two evils, because you're gonna shit off 50% of your fan base, whichever way you go.
Yeah, exactly. particularly Max fans.
Yeah, they'll.
It's just typical of Red Bull, though, isn't it? Someone's got to be sacked. Christian Horner.
I mean, Red Bull. I was rewatching I put on an old episode of Drive to Survive today just to have a nap on the couch.
Yeah.
And there's like, he said something in there like, if you wouldn't do anything to win, then you don't deserve to be here, or you shouldn't be here, or something like that. And like, I think we've said this before in an episode, quite a few episodes ago, where like I take him as the type, and I don't mean this is just too disrespectful a way. I take him as the type who would cheat, like because he wants it so bad and he hates losing so bad. I'm not saying he's a fucking shit person. Like I'm not saying any of that.
No, but I know what you mean.
He strikes me as someone that if he thought he could get away with cheating the budget cap, he would.
But it's all like that. Look at Schumacher. Like they talk about Schumacher. He was the same with Damon Hill. We did speak about this.
Very true. Oh,
something's happening.
Concert's about to kick off. We should wrap this up.
I think we've covered it, eh?
Concert's about to start, and also I think practice is about to start, unless it's delayed. So
awesome.
We'll call it here, eh?
That was good.
Let us know what you think. Hit us in our DMs. Tell us what you think should happen.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully it comes out relatively soon. Chat soon.
All right, everyone. Say hi to your mum for me.
See ya.